Welcome back to Who Wants to Be an Accounting Millionaire, powered by Financial Sense, where spreadsheets meet subpoenas and balance sheets have their day in court. I'm your host, Drew Carrick, and today's episode takes us beyond the audit work papers and into the courtroom, exploring the legal cases, scandals, and regulations where accountants were either the heroes or Exhibit A. If you ever wanted a mix of a little bit of law with your general ledger, this one's for you. So with that being said, let's meet today's contestant, Amber Thompson, and get started. Amber, glad to have you on the show.
Glad to be here. Thank you so much.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. I don't think we've actually ever had the chance to connect before, so this is our first meeting. So I'm sure the audience as well is meeting you perhaps for the first time as well. So tell me about yourself, where you're from, what you do, where you work, and how you got into accounting.
Yeah, nice to meet you. I am from Michigan. I have been an accountant for 21 years. I spent my first 10 years in public accounting. That was a nightmare, but also an experience. And the better part of the last 10 years was in private accounting, and then came kind of back to public accounting. I'm the accounting operations manager for a small bookkeeping firm here in Grand Rapids, Michigan called L&L Bookkeeping.
And so what, were you at one of the big four, or were you at a mid-size or a smaller firm when you were doing your public accounting tenure?
Yep, I did it at two small, very, very small CPA firms in Hastings, Michigan and Middleville, Michigan. Probably nobody has ever heard of those two towns. And we did a myriad of things. We did tax, audit, bookkeeping, payroll, you name it. So I got my hands dirty in everything.
Okay, that's terrific. Yeah. So I was going to say, a lot of the times with the bigger stuff, you kind of have to pick your angle. You're either going to go the audit route, the advisory route, the tax route, but it seems like you have touched it all.
Absolutely.
So what's the size of the firm that you're at now, and your sort of like rolling capacity there? I know you touched on it a little bit earlier, but a little more detail.
Yep, we're a small bookkeeping firm. In total, there are 5 employees with me, including the owner, and we're in our growth mode right now. So the owner actually hired me with growth in mind. She wanted somebody that had public accounting experience to come in, do the reviews, and help work with financial statements, help work with the company owners, and also work with the other bookkeepers. So we are in full-on growth mode right now.
That's awesome. And then do you have any wild stories from your time working in public? Any fun or funny client stories or coworker stories that sometimes are like, that's one that's kind of lasted throughout your career that you're like, I'll never forget that?
Well, for audit, we did nonprofit and local governmental entities, so like townships and villages. And it always was crazy to me. We had a village that we audited, and they would come up with the wildest stories. Oh, we accidentally used the credit card for personal use, or oh no, we lost one of our deposits. It was on the top of my car and it fell off when I was driving, and then they had to put in an insurance claim for this deposit that was lost. And it was just crazy to me, the amount that people can get away with in the local government.
Yep. So is that why you think perhaps the accounting meets law theme would perhaps be something that might fall in your alley?
I'm hoping so.
And so with that being said, I think we're all kind of warmed up. Are you ready to get into the rules of the game?
Yeah, let's do this.
All right, so in Who Wants to Be an Accounting Millionaire, there are 10 questions. We're playing for a grand prize of $1,000. Along the way, the questions will get more difficult, and as you hit new difficulty tiers, you'll reach safety nets. So there's a safety net at question 3, which locks you in at a guaranteed going home of $30, and then at question 6, guaranteed going home with $250. The value of each question will increase exponentially as we go along. If you do get a question wrong past the safety net, you will drop down back to that safety net amount, but we will continue playing the game. Each question from that point on will be worth just a flat $10. So at the very minimum, if you get the first question wrong and you get all the rest right, you still get $90 at the end of the day. So it's not too bad. And you will also be granted 3 lifelines. A switch the question, which is if you don't like it, you trade it in, you get a new question. The risk there is, of course, that the question might be more difficult than the original question that you had, but if you really just have no clue and you're like, I'd rather give my shot at something else, you can do that. A 50-50, in which case we'll eliminate 2 of the wrong answers. And then we have the bookkeeper's hint of sorts, which is where I try to give a subtle nudge in the right direction. That could be very useful or it could be absolutely useless, so use it at your own discretion. And if you do get all 10 questions right and make it to the end without falling back to your safety nets, you will win the full $1,000 prize, because in accounting, thousands are millions because we add 3 zeros onto the balance sheet. So my only question before we get started is, if you win the $1,000, how would you plan on spending it?
I'm going on a trip.
Yeah?
I'm gonna go to Arizona and visit my best friend.
Arizona is a good time. Where in Arizona?
She lives near Sedona. It's gorgeous.
That sounds great. I did a cross-country road trip from LA to Florida in April, and so I did actually drive through there, and it's absolutely awesome.
It is. I've been there a few times now. I actually did a cross-country road trip from Michigan to San Diego twice, and one of the times we went through Sedona, and I thought, oh, this place is amazing. Never did I think that my best friend would move there a couple years later.
Yeah, that's awesome. So let's find out if we can get you to Sedona.
Let's do it.
All right. We'll also find out if you should have gone the JD route. All right. So question number 1. Which U.S. government agency is primarily responsible for enforcing federal securities laws? Is it A, the IRS, B, the SEC, C, the FBI, or D, FASB?
Well, it's not the IRS. That's tax law. FBI doesn't really have anything to do with accounting. I'm leaning towards the SEC. I'm pretty sure it's B, SEC.
Locking it in?
Locking it in.
And B is correct. It is the SEC. The SEC keeping Wall Street in check, or at least trying to keep Wall Street in check. The interesting thing, of course, is that I think a lot of people who start in accounting, apparently there's a hot job market for them in the FBI.
Yeah, actually, we had a lot of recruiters when I was in college come for the FBI, and I thought, if I would like to carry around a gun as an accountant, but never happened.
I have a colleague of mine. He's a tax lawyer, so a CPA and a JD, and he deals with a lot of high net worth clients, and he was actually able to get his concealed carry for himself, working from home and all of that, with just dealing with the high level of confidential kind of information. So it is an interesting, I think we always talk about, like, does the IRS carry around guns as federal agents?
Well, they do.
All right, so you've now earned $10. You passed question 1. This is a good way to get some momentum as we get started. We always like a good positive beginning. We'll be moving on to question number 2. What major U.S. legislation was passed in 2002 to reform corporate financial reporting and protect investors? A, Glass-Steagall Act, B, Sarbanes-Oxley Act, C, the Dodd-Frank Act, or D, the Patriot Act?
Pretty sure I know the answer to this. I've never heard of the Glass-Steagall Act or the Dodd-Frank Act, to be completely honest. The Patriot Act is, I believe, a little bit newer. But when I was in college, that's when Enron and all of that happened. And so I remember very specifically them passing the Sarbanes-Oxley Act. So I'm going to lock in B, Sarbanes-Oxley.
B, Sarbanes-Oxley Act is correct, because Enron taught us what happens when nobody double checks the numbers. The Patriot Act actually was after 9/11, so in the same time frame.
That's true.
Was based on, obviously, it's a lot of the TSA regulations and stuff like that. That's a little more FBI. So you've now earned $20. You still have all 3 of your lifelines remaining, and we are 1 question away from your first safety net. So we'll move on to question number 3. Which regulatory body sets audit standards for public companies in the U.S.? Is it A, the AICPA, B, the PCAOB, C, the SEC, or D, NASBA?
So the AICPA is just an association of CPAs. It's the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants. PCAOB and the NASBA. I'm not sure of those. I think I'm going to have to draw it on one of my lifelines. So I'm going to go with 50-50.
Okay, with the 50-50, we will be eliminating the AICPA and NASBA. So your options are the PCAOB or the SEC.
I think that it's FASB under the SEC. So I'm going to go with C. I'm going to go with SEC.
Locking in SEC?
Locking it in.
And the correct answer is B, the PCAOB.
Gosh darn it, I almost picked that too.
The PCAOB is
it.
the Public Accounting
Oversight Board. I almost picked that.
Basically the hall monitors of public company audits. But the good thing is, although you drop back down to 0, we still have the rest of the questions. And from this point, each question moving forward is going to be worth a flat $10. So we will continue playing, and you'll still have the opportunity to walk away with something. I don't know if you're a coffee person. I recently got into matcha. So, for me, I would maybe be getting the strawberry cloud matchas at Starbucks, which I've enjoyed.
I like a good frappe, so let's do this.
Awesome. All right, so question number 4. Which of the following was not a major legal or regulatory response to accounting fraud? A, Sarbanes-Oxley Act. B, the Dodd-Frank Act. C, the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. Or D, the Securities Transparency Act.
Let's do the bookkeeper's hint on this one.
Dodd and Frank are actually legislators who were part of passing bills. And there are 2 here that one sounds like it could be correct, but the other one...
But the other one, maybe not.
Maybe not.
I'm gonna go with C, Foreign Corrupt Practices Act.
Locking in C, the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. The correct answer is D, Securities Transparency Act. That was a answer that was completely made up by myself. I said, what would be something that sounds like it could potentially be the correct answer and is not actually the correct answer?
It did. It sounded like it was a real answer, so good job.
Thank you. Yeah, there are definitely acts that require transparency. The Securities Transparency Act is not the title of one of them. But the good thing is we get to keep on going. That one's from an answer from a game I like to call, like, what's the most realistic sounding name I can come up with? But this game, Who Wants to Be an Accounting Millionaire, we will continue on to question 5. There's still money on the table. Let's see if we can get you some. Question number 5. Which U.S. Supreme Court case involved the question of whether accountants could be held liable to third parties for negligence? A, the United States versus Arthur Anderson. B, Ultramars Corp versus Touche. C, Ernst & Ernst versus Hochfelder. Or D, Escott versus Bar Chris.
Well, I feel like I picked the wrong category here. I'm going to switch the question. I honestly have no clue.
Switching the question. Okay. Under U.S. legal precedent, what limited protection allows communications between accountants and clients to remain confidential under certain tax-related contexts, but not typically in audit engagements? Is it A, the accountant-client privilege, B, the Covell Doctrine, C, the Work Product Doctrine, or D, the Safe Harbor Provision?
Because I have absolutely no clue, I'm just going to go with A, accountant-client privilege, because none of the other ones sound remotely familiar. So I'm locking in A.
A, the accountant-client privilege, is the correct answer.
Yay!
It exists. It exists until it doesn't, especially when the IRS comes knocking. But that is a $10 locked in. It was a very good choice to switch question 5 then. The actual correct answer to the original question 5 was Ultramars Corp versus Touche. Ultramars, where accountants everywhere learn that even strangers might sue you.
Yeah, I've never heard of that case, so I'm glad that I switched that up.
They definitely get hard fast here. Okay, so we'll move on to question number 6. Which of the following services is generally prohibited for auditors to provide to their public company audit clients under SOX? A, tax return preparation. B, financial statement audits. C, internal audit outsourcing. Or D, employee benefit plan audits?
It's a good question. I wish I knew more about SOX. Trying to think of my audit knowledge. I know that as auditors, we are allowed to do the tax return preparation and obviously do the financial statement audit. Say internal audit outsourcing, C.
C, internal audit outsourcing, locking it in. And C is correct.
Yay!
SOX basically says audit the company, sure, but don't audit yourself. And it's a little bit of what internal auditing is.
That is what I was thinking, was you basically be auditing yourself if you're looking at their internal audit procedures. So, perfect.
So you've passed question 6. You've accumulated $20 here. We've got a frap coming your way for sure.
Woo!
And you could probably do one of those super elaborate ones now. Max it out at Starbucks. Put the ultra venti with all the espresso shots that you want. So tell me about your connection to Financial Sense.
So we use Financial Sense here as our project management software. Sorry about that. And we absolutely love it. Lori, my boss, is a part of one of their user groups, and we do webinars all the time. We do another user group that meets once a month where we talk about the different functionality of it. We just absolutely love Financial Sense. We just think that it's a great tool to be able to, something were to happen to me, one of the other bookkeepers could jump right in and start doing the tasks the next day, because we have everything documented telling us when, who, what, when, where, why, and how on what we need to do for the client. So we just love it.
That's terrific. Is there any software, or did you do it manually beforehand? Like, how was the project tracked in your past experience? Because obviously we're in a boom for financial technology right now, especially accounting softwares.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, it was tracking it on a calendar. So when I came here, I thought, "Ooh, this is amazing. I didn't even know this existed."
It's a lot more efficient that way, right?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, that's cool. Let's hopefully we can have an efficient second half of the game show here with question number 7. Which U.S. Supreme Court case established that auditors must act with intent to deceive to be liable under Rule 10b-5 of the Securities Exchange Act? A, Ernst & Ernst versus Hochfelder. B, Escott versus Barr Chris. C, Credit Alliance Corp versus Arthur Anderson. Or D, United States versus Arthur Anderson?
Well, again, I have absolutely no clue here. And my intuition is telling me to pick D, United States versus Arthur Anderson. So I'm going to lock that one in.
D, United States versus Arthur Anderson, locking it in. And the correct answer is Ernst & Ernst versus Hochfelder. Now, I will admit, I personally also had no idea about this case, Ernst & Ernst. I also find that to be fascinating when you have a firm, which obviously this is pre-Ernst & Young, have the double name in there, which is always fascinating. But scienter is the key word of this question, a fancy legal term meaning you didn't mess up, you meant to mess up. And I believe the differentiator there is, of course, like, was there an intent to deceive the public, or was there just negligence? And in this case, there was the intent on purpose to make that deception. Okay, moving on to question 8. You still have your earnings of $20 still locked in. So we will continue moving forward with question 8. Which global legislation prohibits bribery of foreign officials and requires accounting transparency and internal controls for U.S.-based public companies operating abroad? A, the International Bribery Act. B, the Dodd-Frank Act. C, the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. or D, the Global Entities Accords?
My brain is leading me back to the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. But in A, International Bribery Act, but that doesn't sound real, so I'm gonna go with C, Foreign Corrupt Practices Act.
Locking in C, the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, and your gut is correct. The Foreign Corrupt Practices Act is the correct answer because shady spreadsheets shouldn't cross international borders. This is indeed a real one, and the International Bribery Act is indeed a little bit of a fugazi type of one.
Did you make that one up too?
I think the one I made up actually was Global Entities Accords, which was based off of another suggested potential answer, where there are actually accords that do exist but have nothing to do with this. You've now earned $30. You're locked in at $30, taking that home no matter what, and we still have 2 questions left, so let's see if we can get you to a nice round $50 bill to take home with you. One of my favorites, a little Ulysses S. Grant. I'm a Civil War history buff a little bit myself, so I do enjoy some of those callbacks there. Now, as far as like your interests outside of accounting, what do you kind of occupy your free time with?
Well, I'm a mom, so the past 20 years have been spent rearing my children, but now that they're getting older, I have a 15 and a 19-year-old, I have rekindled my love for reading, and I spend far too much time with my nose in my book or Kindle. So I love it. I just absolutely, it takes me somewhere far, far away from where we are now, and it's amazing.
It's almost like you need to have that balancing act, right? Where you're all the whole bunch of the numbers during the day, so there's a chance to go get immersed in the words.
Yes.
Very cool. So we've got 2 questions left, allegedly the most difficult questions, but we're trailblazing our way through anyway. So let's get to question 9. Which global scandal in 2020 exposed weaknesses in anti-money laundering systems, as revealed by the FinCEN files leak? A, Wirecard, B, Panama Papers, C, FinCEN files, D, LuxLeaks.
I feel like this is a trick question because C screams, answer, FinCEN files. And I don't know if I should be embarrassed that I have absolutely no idea what this is, but since I don't know, we're going to go with C, FinCEN files.
Locking in C, FinCEN files? And that
Yes.
is correct. FinCEN files. Sometimes the deception's not really there, right? Sometimes sometimes you get in your own head, you talk yourself out of something, but one of the things I think we accountants are good at doing is using our better judgment and not getting too tricked. So great job.
Love that.
You've now earned $40, and I know people are probably curious, as the avid reader you are. What's your top books, top 3 perhaps, or your favorite that you've been reading lately?
So I like all sorts of books. I started out reading the Wicked series because that had just come out in theaters, and so I asked for it for Christmas. That is actually really dark. I don't know if you've actually heard anything or read about it, but it's a pretty dark series. Don't recommend it for kids for sure, but that got me into reading. But I've really decided that I enjoy romantasy, which I did not think. My best friend said, I think you'd really, really like romantasy. You should try these books, like the ACOTAR series, Court of Thorns and Roses. And I thought, I don't think so. That just sounds weird. Fairies and fae and love and war and no, they're great. So I would say the ACOTAR series was actually up there pretty high. And I do like thriller books, ones that keep you on the edge of your seat. So there's actually a local author here in Michigan. Her name is J.L. Hyde. She and I actually went to Central Michigan University together, and I have just recently discovered her books, and I absolutely love them. So if anybody wants to check out her books, those are pretty awesome as well.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I think it's something. I actually just watched the Wicked, the first movie on the plane. That's usually when I do most of my movie watching, is on the planes and whatnot. And I was actually really intrigued by it. And I think it's really cool when you have those backstories. But I think it's a little bit in that vein, like you said, of these fantastical worlds of sorts, which you think maybe at first would be like, that's how I felt about Harry Potter originally. I'm like, I don't want to watch something about like wizards and witches and stuff like that. And then I got into it. I was like, this is actually fascinating.
I agree. My husband was very much into Harry Potter when we started dating, and I thought, this is weird. I don't think I can do this, but no, it's actually pretty darn good.
Yeah, I actually would not mind heading over to Universal dressed up in my Hogwarts gear.
Same.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll finish it up with question 10. You've earned $40 so far. We'll go for our final $50 take-home prize with question number 10. In which famous case did the U.S. Supreme Court rule that auditors owe a duty of care to known third parties, not the general public? A. Capro versus Dickman. B. Rush Factors versus Levin. C. Credit Alliance Corp versus Arthur Anderson. Or D. Re Kingston Cotton Mill.
All these court cases that they must have happened while I was in private accounting. That's what I'm going to say, because I think if I was in public accounting, I would have heard about them. Absolutely no clue. So we're going to gander a guess at this one as well, and we're going to say C, Credit Alliance Corp versus Arthur Anderson.
Locking in C, Credit Alliance Corp versus Arthur Anderson. And that is correct.
Wow.
Credit Alliance Corp versus Arthur Anderson.
I just thought, you know what, that's the only one that I recognize a big accounting firm name, so that's amazing.
Yeah, and that's the type of due diligence and looking into it in an analytical mind that you kind of have to do. The Credit Alliance, basically where auditors learn, yes, you can be sued, but only by the people who you knew were watching. And Arthur Anderson just can't seem to have kept herself out of these court cases and whatnot. But yeah, so you'll be taking home the $50 prize. Way to kind of pull it together for the whole second half there. That's awesome. So now $50, maybe it's not getting us a trip to Arizona, but what are you thinking you'll do with that?
I'm still going to go to Arizona, so I guess it's going to get me a frappe or something on the way. So in the airport, we'll use that $50 to get a bagel or something. You know how expensive it is in the airport.
Mm-hmm. I do find that for some reason the food and drinks do taste somewhat better when you're traveling because you're just excited about the aura of it. You feel like it's a special treat. You know, it's like, oh, this is a much better cup of coffee than it was earlier.
Absolutely.
And that is a wrap on accounting and the law. Thank you, Amber Thompson, for playing. You know, we've seen where the money goes, the lawyers, and sometimes the accountants follow. So whether you're testifying, investigating, or just trying to stay out of the headlines, it pays to know the legal side of the ledger. This has been Who Wants to Be an Accounting Millionaire, powered by Financial Sense. I'm Drew Carrick, reminding you, stay ethical, stay sharp, and always stay out of court. We'll see you all next time.